Don't open that box. What have you done? You shouldn't have opened it. You shouldn't have opened it. Opened it. Opened it.
Hello, listening people.
Hello.
Welcome to Spit and Polish presents The Mystery Box. I am one of your mysterious hosts, Ryan Slawinski.
And I am the semi-mysterious Bartek.
Well, you're not that mysterious. You did tell us your name.
I have a secret, and it's this.
and
I'm showing it, but it's a podcast, so you can't see it. So it's
I know the
semi-mysterious.
secret, and I'm blind, so I can't see it. So
You're half blind.
I wish I didn't say it.
He wished he didn't see it. Whoever that voice was wishes he didn't see
Yeah.
it. So, Bartek, that's you. Ryan, that's me. Combined, we are Spit and Polish.
Brian.
We've made this joke before.
Have we?
Yes.
Brytek, I think, is more of a thing we did.
Brytek.
Brytek.
I think this is
I like
the
that.
exact conversation we had last time about this. So, you're Bartek, I'm Ryan. Combined, we are Spit and Polish. And we're called that because we're always spitting and we both happen to be Polish. Isn't that right, Bartek?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, Bartek, that's no Anglo-Saxon name. That's a Polish name.
It is a white name, though.
I mean...
Because I saw this video on YouTube.
Oh, God. What, there was some white... Like, was it one of those videos where the person talking is a cartoon avatar of, like, a wolf? And they're like, did you know Bartek's a white person's name?
No. It was a Pro ZD video.
Oh, okay.
And it was, like, titled something like, oh, when you have a white person name... And it was making fun of the fact that, like, oh, you know, his real name is Sungwon.
Oh, okay.
Like an Asian name, but, like, separating the fact from white. It's like, oh, Polish people are white, but we also have weird names.
That is true. We do have weird names. But...
What I'm saying is I'm an offended white person.
That's exactly right. But we have an even weirder concept for a show that we're doing, the Mystery Box. A show in which we have a box that's filled with mysterious videos or DVDs or movies or video projects or whatever's in there that is something we can watch. And then we get a guest to pick whatever thing is in there at random, and we watch the movie completely blind, not knowing much about the movie beforehand. We just have the DVD cover and the blurb on it, and that's it. I'm not saying that these movies are completely unknown to the entire world.
Or that they are movies.
Or that they are movies. But they are unknown and mysterious to us. And we talk about them and dissect them. Isn't that right, Bartek?
Yes, that is right. And is this why you called yourself mysterious?
I'm mysterious.
And this is the mystery box?
Exactly.
And I'm semi-mystery?
Exactly. So, Bartek, we need a guest for this one. Not always, but we do have one who's waiting in the wings to talk.
Yeah, he's already spoken.
He's being prepared to talk, and he's been prepared for you to introduce him. Bartek, who is our guest for this episode?
Our guest for this episode is yet another returning guest for this show.
Oh, excellent.
It is the guest that we had on the third episode
Of Mystery
of
Box?
the Mystery Box ever made. It is the wonderful Mark Russell.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hi, Brian. I am good.
I am also good, because you chose at random, much to our
Yes.
dismay, the film Space Fury.
Yes.
You happy with your choice?
I just want my childhood back.
You want
Did this ruin your childhood?
Space Fury, everyone. We're covering Space Fury, the movie that asked the question, can space be furious? And the answer is maybe.
Possibly. There can be fire.
There
That
can
sounds like
be-
fury.
That sounds... There could be crazy people up
Lots
there.
of sound.
Oh boy, is there sound. So, Mark, you chose this movie at random, and I'm the fool who bought it at an op shop and put it in the mystery box. Now, for a piece of information for those listening, which is everyone, I guess, this is in a double pack. This is a double feature, special bonus offer double feature, with a movie called Alien Intruder and Space Fury. Alien Intruder is the one that covers most of the DVD box. It is the biggest advertised one on there. And then in the right-hand corner, a little
Lower
bit
right, yeah.
lower right-hand corner, small, is Space Fury. And we watched that one because it was the first one on the DVD menu.
Yeah.
Even though this alludes on the back and on the front that it's going to be Alien Intruder, and alphabetically Alien Intruder.
Yeah, the way that
So we were prepping ourselves for Alien Intruder.
yeah, the way that we do it on this show is if there are multiple like feature-length films or feature-length things on a DVD itself or the disc, we watch whatever like the default cursor is on. So even though we thought Alien Intruder was what we were going to watch, the first thing that was pointed at was Space Fury, so we ended up watching Space Fury.
Now, unfortunately, we did get invested in the idea of Alien Intruder due to the fact that this movie, and I won't bang on about Alien Intruder too much longer, I just want to say this movie has Billy D. Williams, so it is going to be, Commissioner Gordon's good friend, Harvey Dent
Ryan,
himself.
I don't know any of that, I only watch Grease.
Grease, it has Jeff Conaway, who is Kaneki,
Oh.
and Max Caulfield, who is
main-
Cool Rider in Grease 2.
Yeah.
So it is a Grease reunion hosted by Billy D. Williams. But unfortunately, we did not get that epic sci-fi whose tagline is the best tagline, which is, in the year 2022, we make contact, ... Too bad! But we got Space Fury instead.
And what's its tagline?
Space Fury's tagline on the cover here is, the one danger they didn't count on in space was a killer among them. And Bartek, I would really love for you to describe the poster and the cover of Space Fury for the listening people at home.
Well, fun fact, I still have not looked at this cover yet. Even right now, as I hold the DVD, I have not looked at it yet. So now 3, 2, 1.
Give us your first impressions.
3, 2, 1. I'm going to look at it. 3, 2, 1. Okay. That's interesting. So we have at the very top, like from left to right at the very top, we've got the name Michael Pear or Paré, because the E has an accent at the top.
That's true.
Pear.
Michael Pear.
We called him Pear.
Michael Palin, yeah.
And then for about, 5/6 from the top to the bottom, there's a planet. I believe it's Earth.
I hope so.
Yep, but only like a small crescent moon on like the
Now, I'll be honest, we did watch the movie, and I have no guarantee that the planet is Earth, because whatever planet these people came from was some other bizarro universe world.
Whatever planet Los Angeles and Moscow are on.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but like the small crescent of the Earth is like lit. We can only really see a bit of ocean and either clouds or I
Is
guess
Australia
Antarctica.
there?
No, I can't tell any continent.
Okay, must be Africa then.
Just to the lower left of the planet
Oh no.
is a bit of fire.
Is it just some space fire, or is it something engulfed in flames?
Now, there are things in a layer in front of the fire that seems to be like a space ship.
Fury? Oh, sorry.
Kind of looks like a penis, to be honest, like a metal penis.
So space penis, yeah.
And some kind of white thing, which,
ejaculate.
Yeah, when we talk about penis, you think ejaculate, but like it's to the right of the penis.
I can ejaculate from the right.
Well, there's no gravity in.
I am right-handed.
To be fair, it's kind of looking at the white that's on the planet, so we don't know.
Oh, so jizzed on Earth.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just below the explosion is the word space, and to the right of space is Fury.
Oh no.
So the title of the film is like right at the bottom of the poster. That's
That's fair enough.
choice,
Some
yeah.
people do that.
But now I mentioned that we see most of the planet on
Oh, so it's
the
just
cover,
a
but
crescent planet.
but only a small crescent of it is lit. The rest of it is in darkness, and is the word imposed in front of it?
Yeah, imposed or encompasses.
Yeah. Oh, I should also mention the image on it, like not talking about like the text on it, has like this kind of grid over it.
Yeah, it's a sci-fi space grid.
Yeah, sci-fi space grid. Yeah, we've got two faces.
It's a lot to gather.
I'm sorry, did I say two faces? 1.5 faces. One of them being the serious American of the film,
Michael Pear.
and the French lady. What do they call it? European woman?
Yeah, European person.
Yes, and then between them, because half the left from our perspective, but actually her right side of the face is like, shaded dark, like it's the background, so it's faded out, and Michael Pare, whatever, is looking to his right, so the part of his face that's shaded out, we can still see his eyes and everything.
Oh, no.
But in that black space between them, we have the tagline you read, which is in nice
Small
red font.
font.
The fact that it's red makes it easy to read, but the fact that it's small doesn't.
Can I just point out something that you have not pointed out? And I think this is very
I
important.
think I pointed out everything. What is it?
The text for Michael Pare is in sci-fi green,
Mm-hmm.
which is very important. Isn't that right, Mark? You're a big fan of sci-fi, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
know that green is a
Green.
very sci-fi color.
Green is the color of aliens.
That's that's exactly it.
Like, for
Aliens.
example, Cornetto trilogy, green for aliens.
And Xenomorph's blood is green, because it's acid. And then the actual Space Fury is this black font that has this red and bright green kind of glow around the edges of it.
Outlines, I guess,
Outline.
yeah.
And that's very important because this lets us know, other than the word Space Fury and something exploding in space and the space grid, that this is a sci-fi movie.
So it's green actor's name, red tagline, and then red and green glow for the title.
It's a sci-fi movie, guys. And boy, oh boy.
Aren't red and green like the colors for Christmas?
Yes!
This is a Christmas classic.
Isn't Christmas really a sci-fi concept?
No, it's an Urotsuki Doji 2 concept.
So, here's the thing, guys. I'm going to burst a bubble. I have a history with this DVD pack.
Okay.
Now, it's a mystery box. And it still counts because I've never watched these movies.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a... Bartek, just wind up the old broken record because here I go again. When my parents found out about DVDs, they would buy any
Okay.
DVD ever. And my dad is a huge fan of sci-fi movies. In one of our recent episodes, Friday After Next, for our other show, I mentioned that my dad chose a movie called Astronaut Farmer due to the idea that it had some sci-fi potential. My dad has the propensity to buy these types of movies. So, for instance, he has a pack of DVDs of the movies that are just straight to DVD sci-fi movies that have space in them or alien in them. He has Alien versus Hunter, which is like a rip-off of Alien versus Predator. And this is one of them, but he never got around to watching this.
Space Fury?
And Alien Intruder, this exact DVD double pack.
Oh, wow.
My father has at home. So I am familiar with this, but never have watched it.
Now you have your own copy.
Now I have my own. Yay!
Carrying out
So
the
you and your
family
dad
tradition.
can, like, open your DVD collections, you'll pull out the same one at the same time?
No, me, I'll just phone him up and be like, Dad, haven't gone around to Space Fury yet? It's been like 11 years. Come on. Like,
It's like your dad's favorite film, and it's like, why?
why? So
Well,
that's my...
spoiler, do we like it?
Oh boy, I had feelings. I had some strong emotions during this. So, let's get down to the nitty gritty of Space Fury. Mark, could you please benefit us with a quick overview of what the movie is actually supposed to be about?
Oh god. Where to begin? I don't think the movie knows for a great portion of it.
Well, what's the setup, or how does it begin,
what's the
or something?
Okay, so the movie opens with a shuttle attempting to dock at a space
Well, that's
station.
after like a 15-minute opening sequence of us going through space fire and a bunch
Oh,
of
yeah,
planets.
yeah.
Fire, Saturn, some
So
brown
we
planet.
know that it's in space, yeah. And the first line, what is it? I'm on my way. You know, we're really good at great introductions to the character, and so
Was she on her way though?
Well, yeah, she entered a room that had someone in it. She said, "I'm on my way," and then she walked up to them.
It was like 2 steps. So yeah, a
Yeah.
lady's in some kind of space vehicle.
a space station.
Station.
I can't remember what it's called. Tesla station.
No, that was the people on the ground. Was like
Was that not Star City?
yeah, but they were the Tesla
Tesla
sta-
station
I'm
of
sure
Star
that
City?
the Star-
Tesla station on in Star City, and they were called the something else space station. They had some weird name.
I'm sure
Right.
it doesn't matter.
Who cares?
Yeah. So you know the Americans are on the shuttle that docks with the space station, and this is where the drama really starts. The
Drama?
great action scenes, the great effects.
Well, you said the Americans. Like, is that distinct from someone else?
Yeah, man. Are there other countries involved in this
Wow.
film?
There are other cunts.
We have the Russians.
Are there other cunts in
The
this?
Russians, yes.
Australians in this?
No.
There are no other cunts in
No,
this.
that was us talking over the film.
That's fair. Continue on, young sir.
We had the great action scene of the shuttle crashing and doing massive structural damage to the station, which is never addressed later on.
That's true.
Well, it's just an accident.
That was just an accident.
But they break off huge chunks of the station that explode.
Yeah, but it's fine though, right?
It's fine. It's
It's
all
fine.
fine.
It's space.
Yeah.
Fire goes out real quick in space.
Oh yeah.
No
And
air.
You're
That's
completely
that's
safe
fine.
in
Yeah.
space. Safest place you can be, really.
It's fun. I actually
No one knows about OHS in space. That's the tagline to Alien, right? Pretty sure. So
So then, from there, we're introduced to our four characters.
yeah, I wouldn't
So
say
we-
main characters.
We have the
people that are set up to be the main crew.
We have the serious American astronaut.
who has no emotions until he does.
Yeah. The black guy who is a golfer.
Who's really happy.
Yes.
He's so good.
We have the Russian guy,
Mario.
Mario,
The guy who looks exactly like Bob Hoskins Mario.
and we have the woman who is French.
I didn't know she was French until a little while later.
Yeah,
she saw her
same.
armband and it has like the French flag, but I thought she was Russian too.
I can't remember the serious American's name. What was it?
It was
Conrad.
Conrad, yes.
The most American name.
In the credits, it was with a K, too.
I thought he was saying comrade for a lot of
Yeah.
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah, so serious American is Conrad. The black American
Is either
is
Max or
Max.
Sam.
It's
I kept
Max.
calling him Sam for some reason.
The woman is Renee,
yeah.
Because she's French.
and Bob Hoskins is Yuri.
Yuri, because he's Russian. There's only two Russian names in this movie, Yuri and Igor. That's
Igor,
it.
Yeah.
Igor or Igor, depends which one is again. This is something.
Yeah, there are a lot. You know, those are the four people that are set up to sort of be like the main focus of the film, but there are like 20 more characters or something.
The general setup of this movie is people are up in a space station, and the space station has someone on board that is there with ill intent.
Yeah.
We know this because we have the other story, which is people on the ground. There's a policeman that's investigating a murder of a prostitute, and it leads to being revealed that that prostitute was murdered by someone who's up on the space station.
And it's, yeah.
And it's people on the ground kind of coming to grips with this knowledge of a possible murderer and or terrorist, because there's also terrorism involved, being in the space station. And that's kind of the movie.
And, you know, Ryan, with mysteries, it's a really good idea to have, you know, a small group and any one of them can be the murderer because, you know, there are four characters. So it's like
yeah.
you can take your guess like a 1 in 4 chance. It's not like half of them are eliminated almost immediately or anything like that.
No, you're right, but that's exactly what they do.
Yep. There is a scene we learn very quickly that the two Europeans, Yuri and Renee,
Are not evil.
you know, in love with each other, and they have like a sex scene, and we
Sexy
see,
scene.
and we see from the perspective of whoever the real killer is watching them, so we know.
Oh, you assume that was him watching them still?
Is it? Was it
I
not?
sort of
Because we
assumed
still
that.
had that camera angle for scenes that guy was in.
Did we?
Yes.
that's
Yes.
true.
Right off the bat, listen, people, it's the serious American Conrad. But,
we lasted as long holding the mystery as they did. Yeah, Conrad. There's scenes where Conrad's messing with the control panels and whatever, and it's still got that shaky behind a
Oh,
grid
did it?
came because they don't know what the fuck they're doing when making this.
Oh.
Don't give them credit.
I didn't remember that.
There's a scene in which they're having sex, and you were like, "Ooh, now this is something, right?" Bartek and I, at least I did not know what the idea of the plot was because I was elsewhere in another room when Mark read out the synopsis on
You're
the back.
pee-pee.
And I did not know, but Bartek had this brilliant idea that the movie didn't follow through on. It was just a quick idea that you had, which was there's a scene in which Yuri and Renee are having sex, and it's like someone's watching them, and you said, "Ooh, maybe there's a secret person that's on the ship that we don't know about.
Did I say that?
Yes, and I just went, that would be great. That would actually be great, because it's like a murder mystery. It's like a mystery thing. There's only 4 characters. Wouldn't it be great if there was someone secretly on the ship that we didn't know about? Wouldn't that be fun? And the movie's like, no, we're not here to have fun. We're here to make complete and utter nonsense that is incoherent.
Nonsense? What are you talking about? This is a serious documentary.
You want to talk about the dubbing then?
Oh, of course, yeah. It was brilliant.
How the film was clearly made with people who didn't speak English and they dubbed them over.
Yeah. I'm not sure the people who did the dubbing spoke English really either, to be honest.
This feels like impotent rage, attacking her womanhood. Anger.
Yeah, this movie has an interesting hook, people. Space station, secret murderer. Great. Great premise. You can kill people with space in so many interesting ways. Like, this is such a good little idea that you could work with. No alien, no nothing. Just someone on the ship is killing other people for whatever reason. But this movie just pisses it away. It just... We say, or I say, that this movie is about a murder in space. That's not actually what it's about. Like, what it's about is the political intrigue of people in a dark office room talking about whether or not they could blow up a space station. People on the ground investigating murders of people we don't know or don't know anything about. All speaking with thick accents in poor English anyway. And people on the space station just chilling out until they aren't anymore.
And sponsoring cola.
And sponsoring cola. Like this movie is and a vague threat of terrorism. The murder aspect really doesn't play into much until like the last 20 minutes. It just fully focuses on that, and you're like, why wasn't this more of the movie? Like, why have the people on the ground be more prominent characters? Why not just focus on the people in space? And the people on the ground have figured it out, but they can't communicate with them because of whatever, a solar eclipse or something. You know what I mean? Like some sci-fi nonsense of why they can't communicate with them, but they do every now and then, and you hear like murderer or something interesting.
Yeah, there comes a point where pretty much everyone knows who the murderer is.
As soon as the first murder happens.
Well, no, I guess the problem there was, like, they didn't see the knife. They kind of thought, like, oh, he was trying to help him or
But it
whatever.
wasn't a knife. He used a soda can.
Soda can.
Yeah.
So, in the movie, you have all of these vague plot lines going on, and they are vague plot lines. Like, we've covered movies on this show, like with Mark in our previous episode with Mark, Mr. Bones, in which that episode we had to take the approach of talking about the movie storyline in plot beats of like plot A, plot B, plot C, because that movie had so many subplots. But they were very straight subplots, even though they were crazy things.
Yeah, we could just say, like, all right, let's talk about this plot and talk about every
like,
beat.
This character wanted this, and he did this to get that.
Yeah.
This movie, I don't know why they have so many plots, and none of them really are plots. Like, they're just not even ideas. They're just, we have to get it in 90 minutes.
Yeah, and it's not, and it wasn't like over the top baffling like Betaville was, where even if we didn't get that one fully, at least there was just crazy stuff that we can't possibly forget about.
This movie, for long-term listeners, is a mixture of a film that we did called Deep Rescue, which is a movie about a bunch of people being stuck underwater in a rocket.
Yeah.
And they just do sci-fi technobabble talk, and then one of them is crazy for no real reason other than his ears didn't go pop pop. And a Meteor Apocalypse, a movie that was a faith-based apocalypse movie without the faith.
Yeah.
And it's a movie where asteroids and meteors fall to the Earth, and they just wander around the desert and kind of go from place to place.
Yeah.
It's those two movies combined, but in a space station.
Yeah, a lot darker, lot less environments.
A lot less fun.
Mm.
Like, I don't know.
But I guess it technically had more environments than, like, Deep Rescue, but at least with Deep Rescue it was, like, simple-ish.
Yes. But this movie is...
It takes a long time to figure out what's happening.
Yeah, we just sat there baffled, didn't we?
Yeah, for a long time, because it's just scene after scene of just things happening until you get to that first boardroom meeting where they actually just tell you what's happening.
They don't stop telling
But,
you.
but like, the presence of that scene means that all the other scenes before it were pretty much redundant, because they just, like,
They
It's all
couldn't-
just repeating information.
Yeah, they couldn't explain the information.
It was the three of us and your fiance Rachel. We were watching this, and like each one of us had like different elements of like just not getting it.
yeah.
Like Mark actually had the best time with it, and like he would say things, and it's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, like Mark was like, "Oh, that guy Max, he's an astronaut. He's a celebrity golfer." And I went, "What, boy? When did that happen?"
He was like,
He
yeah,
was
he's
sent up there
Tiger
to-
Woods in space.
He was sent up
Tiger
there to
Woods in
sponsor
space.
cola.
He was
Yeah,
up there to sponsor cola, and I went, "Oh,
And for some reason, they were attaching a cola tin to the outside of the station.
Which I guess, to be fair, that does explain the reason why the first time we see him, he's just like looking at everything in utter awe.
yes. But it's one of these movies where it's just hard for one person to comprehend any of it, like all of it." Like, and that's not to be like, oh, this is a complex movie that has lots of intricacies. Like, this isn't Inception, right?
It's a very
This is
simple
just-
movie.
This is
put
just
together
an
badly.
incoherent movie, right? Like,
Have we even talked about like the main plot yet? Which
murder
is that,
in space.
No, the terrorists who want to crash the space station into LA.
For some reason, they want to do that,
And
and
it- yeah,
they
and-
get defeated in one scene at the very beginning, so they're entirely pointless.
But then the guy they sent up to do it, who is the killer,
He's unaware of this. But then when he is aware of it, he's like, "Do you think I was going to follow through with that anyway?" And then, spoiler alert, he proceeds to try and follow through with that anyway.
and it is never resolved. Spoiler.
Oh yeah, spoiler. There's no resolution.
Like, we don't
here.
know if LA is destroyed or not.
No.
The movie ends with the space station hurtling through the sky towards LA.
Yeah,
And
but
then
it
that's
blows up and most of the parts of it vanish, so...
But that's what they said. They said it's going to disintegrate and, like, all these different, like,
Shrapnel,
are going to
meteor, like meteor apocalypse.
Yeah, they're gonna try to blow it up, and then there'll be a shrapnel apocalypse.
This is just the fucking great way to start the year, isn't it? Like, this was like the thing about this movie too is, and I don't know if you guys felt this way, but a lot of the time with movies, and they have titles, they have to earn their title.
Mm.
Like Toy Story, it's a story about toys, right?
Earned.
Castaway, it's a movie about a guy who's cast away. It's earned, right?
You're
And
not even talking about earning, you're just saying matching the title. here,
matching, right? And then there are some that, like, you know, earn it, like Seven. It's a movie where you find out a guy's killing 7 people because of the 7 deadly sins.
Mm-hmm.
Great, earns it. This movie's called Space Fury.
But it's in space.
I don't know where the fury aspect comes into this. I thought this was
I
going
guess
to
some
be...
people were furious, but yeah.
No, they weren't.
Well, he was crazy.
He was crazy that he wasn't furious.
Maybe it's supposed to be Space Yuri, and name is spelled like-
But he dies very... He's like the casualty of the film.
yeah.
In space, he died. He died in space.
Yeah.
He died outside in space. They left his body there. They never retrieved it. It's still there.
I do like the name. I do like the idea of Space Eater. It reminds me of Lemonade Joe.
Lemonade Joe and Space Fury team up together to stop
The
the,
ultimate
filming of
cross-
Space Fury.
The ultimate crossover.
I would love it. Yeah, I don't know. Did you guys get it? Did that bother you that this movie's name is Space Fury yet it doesn't earn its title?
To be honest, I kind of forgot the
Was
title.
expecting that, to be honest.
Like,
Like, and to begin with, it's the sort of title that you expect from this sort of movie.
exactly. I don't know, man. At least in Meteor Apocalypse. No, there was no Meteor Apocalypse. Sorry, I retract that statement.
It sort of was.
No. Look, this movie is boring, Space Fury. And it's so boring that before we started this episode, we said, alright, let's just list off some things that we should talk about in the episode, because, in all honesty, the plot is boring and muddled
Borderline incomprehensible.
and borderline incomprehensible.
Yeah.
So this movie is nothing but a series of interesting to sad and pathetic and what I said the most embarrassing moments. And unless you guys feel like there's more to really dig deep on in this plot, because really there's nothing. Like, our killer, he has no real motive for killing other than allegedly terrorists find out he killed a prostitute and then they hold that over him to kill in space. But he was already crazy. Like, why did he kill a prostitute?
You know what I find amazing is that in the time it took him to kill a prostitute, be recruited by the terrorists, and then be sent up into space, the body was still lying in the street.
I'm breathing.
Yeah.
Well, the breathing wasn't a plot thing.
Are you sure?
That was an acting flaw, I believe, Ryan.
Are you sure?
That was a crime scene of a
Look,
dead
look,
body.
They were setting up a zombie
here's the
movie.
thing.
It didn't
If
happen.
Mark turned around to you right now and said it was a part of the plot, I would
was.
believe him because
See,
he was paying attention.
They were going for like the body was possessed by an alien.
I wish.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
That's what it
wish.
was, but
to
it was very subtle.
I wish
You
there was
had
a
to pay
stinger at the
attention.
end
I mean,
where she
even-
wakes up at the morgue and she's like, "Ah!"
Even Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid had a character die, and they were still like breathing technically.
"Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can't remember that." No, this movie is borderline incomprehensible, and talking about the plot elements is kind of pointless.
Well, look, even if we were to compare this to our planning for Betaville, where we just said, here's the main plot, here's the rest, we kind of have given the main plot.
Yeah, I mean, but like, with a movie, there's far more interesting things. Like, we could talk about character motivations and character dynamics and this interesting thing and that interesting thing and da-da-da. This has none of that. Like, Yuri and Renee, we don't know them as a couple. He gets murdered early on, and she doesn't really react to it, which is kind of weird. And
Well,
yet, we don't learn anything
Isn't
about
her
her character.
Isn't her whole character, her whole purpose in this movie that she has breasts?
She does have breasts, and she shows them off in one scene for no particular reason other than the director wanted to wank that day. He was like, "Take your top off," and she's like, "Do I have to?"
It sounded like you were
Yes.
slurping. It sounded like you were like slurping a drink, but you were emoting a
Okay,
cigarette.
slurping a drink. Take your top off. Why? 'Cause I have a raging hard on and I need to jerk it. And she's like, "Okay."
Yeah, he's prepared. He got erect first.
Well, he's always erect, and he needs a film to release that erection into the video streaming, into the video service, and then I buy his ejaculate on DVD, and we put it in my DVD
And
player,
then-
and we watch
So-
it, and then I make a podcast about
So
it.
now we know the shape on the cover is a penis.
Yes, it's his penis.
I was about to say, yeah, we like.
Oh my god,
identified
it's
two
subtle.
things.
The director's saying his penis is so big it needs to be put in space. I'm so shocked. I'm so shocked that he put that on the cover. He kind of warned us from the very beginning that he has a big penis.
Okay, no. Squirt a bigger one and give it more. Ugh. All right, kid. All right, that's cool.
I'm going to say one of my favorite scenes in the movie is, okay, imagine this. A terrorist, I do believe, has left behind a laptop with data that needs to be hacked into before this encryption, blah, blah. And so a soldier throughout the whole entire movie is sitting at the table with this laptop and he looks like he's falling asleep. And he's in this, what is clearly someone's, garage.
Yeah,
the
like
director's garage.
but it's meant to be like the corner of a warehouse or something.
The director's car hole. And he's sitting there and he looks like he's falling asleep. And then it'll cut to the computer and it's like a bunch of codes and shit. And then hard cut. And might I say, when this happens to the camera is on the guy and the camera pans to the upper right corner. So it's a movement and then cut to a window. A metal window, like a metal wall with a big hatch window, and it's got the sky, but we figured out very, very soon that it wasn't the sky, it was the planet Earth, and it was spinning.
Yeah.
And then it cut again back to the guy on the laptop, and then cuts to them on the space station. And I said, "What the fuck is that window? Is this guy sitting? Then we figured out it's actually a window on the space station." That was probably my favorite nonsense moment of editing and cutting, and just what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And this guy's plot serves no purpose because
It's really repetitive. Was there anything other than him falling asleep and then cutting to
but
the
he wasn't
code?
supposed to be looking like he was falling asleep. I think the
Yeah.
actor just looked like that.
Yeah, and even the code wasn't interesting because it was just the same thing every time. It wasn't even characters. It was
Yeah.
squares and stuff.
And it served no purpose because at the end he gets footage to show that the killer was the killer all along.
It was literally
Yeah.
padding.
But there's no way he could have got that footage because the footage is of the murder happening, from the murderer's perspective. And
Yeah.
it's who took this footage?
And there were two angles too, because there was the angle of the woman and the angle of the guy.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it was a filmmaker. We filmed it. The terrorists had an elite film crew that really did cinematography on it.
And they did really good close-ups that were undetected.
yeah, exactly. No, he knew. He knew, but he was too much of a killer to care. He was actually like, is this a good angle for me to stab her? And she's like, no! And he's like, okay. I'll go to the left a little. Stand on my... Oh, this film's Dutch angles were incredible. It's almost like Battlefield Earth. Almost.
Like, yeah, the shot was like, the text was like, this is Moscow. And then it cut to a shot that was on a Dutch angle. I was like, oh, it's a bit more Dutch than Russian.
You made that joke,
Yes,
yeah.
I did, yeah.
I just focus on that hacker scene. Yeah, it's completely pointless because we know, as do the characters know, quite clearly who the killer is. Because it's narrowed down to the two American characters, one of which, the golfer, just has the most airtight alibi in the universe, which is he's been busy being an active celebrity golfer. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And the other guy, we don't know what his alibi or his situation is, and of course
also
it's him.
And also, in the first half of the movie, he's like this very stoic, serious character.
And he gets angry.
Yeah.
Very angry.
He gets furious.
So the whole hacking sequence, which takes up 5 to 10 minutes of the movie,
If you piece it all together, I think, yeah.
is completely pointless. It doesn't help the characters on the ground. They already know this.
It's basically...
But they don't even care. Like, like one of the first things they do when they learn that there's a killer aboard is they try and blow up the station
Yes.
with everybody on board still alive.
Can we talk about
Who
that?
makes the decision?
It was a bunch of random Russian generals talking to the deputy premier of Russia, who looks exactly like John Goodman, and
Whoever plays Azamat in Borat.
had a child who grew up in Russia. This guy decides, and he's getting a haircut while deciding, and it's just... It's so cute.
And it's not like a camera that where like his face is the middle of the frame. It's like sort of
we
just
can
below
see
the
her.
head.
We can see her.
The hairdresser. It's like so we can see like the upper half of his torso. His big fat guy.
Yeah.
He's getting a bit of a haircut.
And they're asking him, can we launch a missile? And he's like, yeah, sure.
Like it almost looks like he could have been wearing like a bib and he's ready to eat or something.
Well, you do wear bibs when you get a haircut.
Well, like yeah, big like smock.
He needed a smock. But yeah, he's decided, yeah, let's launch a rocket with our own men on board and a Europa woman and 2 Americans, and that won't start an incident. And of course it does, but it doesn't actually, because all it starts is him getting a little bit of a talking to from some lady.
Yeah,
There's
because
some lady who's like, we did not approve of this. We would have if you asked. And he's like, oh, okay.
no, he doesn't even speak to them. He's got a translator.
He's got a translator. And
But
that
that
would have
translator-
started an international incident. But no, it's okay.
You know, this film had a few really weird moments of like, because you know we had a lot of hard times understanding a lot of characters.
That's right.
And I remember whenever it cut to that black boardroom, that mysterious room,
The room where they're in a black void.
a black void with nothing but a lit desk and a few like
Yeah,
generals
that's
around it.
always in movies, though, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
where are these black voids at? Like, I've never gone into a boardroom that's in a black void.
Yeah, but like in that black void, like all the characters spoke really clearly. Like the translator for that Russian guy, he never like speaks again. He's always whispering to the translator, whoever that was.
Yeah.
Like that translator like spoke really well. It's like, oh, this guy's.
But that's like the one scene in the movie where things are clear. And what I thought was that they made the movie, realized it made no sense, so they inserted these boardroom
Yes.
scenes in to explain the plot to the audience.
Yeah.
That's what I thought they were.
What annoys me, and I know that this might be a generalizing statement,
Yeah.
but in my brain, I would assume on some level that a Russian leader would know how to speak some English in modern day.
Did he not speak English?
No, because in the scenes that we have, he's speaking English, but it's supposed to be Russian, right? Like, we, the audience here, are hearing English, but they're clearly speaking Russian to each other. Like,
So was that a convenience thing?
yes, like, I think in the universe, he can only speak Russian, so every time we saw him talk, he's speaking Russian, but it's actually English for us audiences.
Subtitles are too hard for the
Or
film.
getting actors who can actually speak Russian. Because this guy may look the part, but doesn't mean he can speak Russian.
Yeah, fair enough.
That brings us into the best character of the movie for Bartek, which is Russian detective.
Igor, yeah.
Igor or Igor, depending who you are in the movie.
Like, yeah, when the film first started and, like, we, like, sort of I won't say we got introduced to everyone, but we saw kind of everyone throughout it. Like, it had this kind of potentials of, like, the 4 crew members up in space. Even though later on we realized, oh, they're pretty boring. At least they were like really distinct characters. Like there was a Russian guy, the French woman, and the 2 Americans were also different. So there was like potential for some character dynamics. And then you have this Russian detective who, he's got like, big nose, thick accent. He's got like
Jawline beard.
He's got a crutch, and he's very assertive and like
He's yelling at his underlings.
He emotes with his hands. Like this is a character that we can do stuff with.
Yeah, and then they don't.
And then, like, 3/4 of his scenes, like the last 3/4 even, he's just standing around, like, not even moving. It's like the crutch is almost pointless, and...
Yeah, like there's a character there that they just squandered, right? Like,
yeah, like, he scolds people in his first quarter of the screen time.
Like, here's a movie you could do. You could have these 2 storylines going on. You have guy investigating murder of a prostitute, figures out that it's an astronaut, and has to make his way through the chain of bureaucracy and whatnot to get to the astronaut people and tell them, cosmonaut people we should say, and tell them there's a murder, and then they go, oh shit, and try and communicate with them, right? That could be an interesting movie. And the other storyline is the murder up there.
Yeah.
And we don't know who the murderer is until the investigator figures it out. Boom! Great! And make that character the most likable character. That would be great.
Yeah. There's potential.
Maybe even make them the main character, and then you go, "Oh my god, I trusted the main character,
or at least
and I shouldn't have done that." Yeah. Oh my god, and then
like a solid A and B plot.
Yeah. Well, his name is like the heading on the cover.
Yeah, Michael Pear. Yeah, like he's the top billed actor, and it's just like, you could have done something interesting there. Like I'd rather it just all be up in space, and the people on the ground are just radio people, like that get cut out for most of the movie, so you have that isolation, but. Yeah, that detective character, you're right. Like, he was a fascinating character, and then they did nothing with him. He just stood there and served no purpose.
Yeah, in a room full of a bunch of people who just stand or sit there, and...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they kind of blend together.
It's pointless. Like, you have a head scientist guy who's boring, and
what were they even doing?
They were just standing there making sure that the technical stuff runs well, and then they decided, no, I'm just going to stand here and do nothing instead and just waste the detective's time. Every now and then the detective will pipe up, have a scene with the head scientist and be like, you bastard, listen to me, we have to arrest him, blah, and then he'll do nothing.
Yeah, I remember when we were watching the film, or maybe it was right after, no, we were watching it, and... we were sort of dwelling on, but not directly, this idea that like there's potential here. And I said something, I don't know if you agreed with me, or you were just letting me talk, but I was saying like, this is a film that has these ideas, and if you could just change little bits of it, we can have at least a competent film. Maybe not amazing, but competent, but like...
Yeah, it's called, you have to kill your darlings, because clearly whoever this is, as incompetent as they may be, they had a ton of ideas that they wanted to chuck out there, but they didn't fully realize each idea. And you really just have to kill your darlings. Kill the things that you love. So get rid of this subplot. Get rid of that character. Get rid of this and this. Focus your piece. That's what great films do. They focus on things. A good ton of great films are very simple.
Yeah,
focused on few things. This is just scatterbrained.
Do you believe God finds all people to be of equal value, Renee?
Bartek, you found you mentioned this in our Rutsuki Doji episode, and I imagine you should mention it here more.
Funny accents?
You are a sucker for funny accents,
yeah.
And this movie was particularly effective on you.
Yeah.
I found it particularly funny because every now and then, when they were speaking Russian, when they actually had Russian speaking, you would understand some words because it kind of bleeds into Polish stuff.
Yeah, there were only 2 points where like an overhead speaker was like making a repeated thing. Like the only thing that I could point out was, they said the word important.
Which is?
In Polish it's ważne, but I think there's also a form where you say proważne, and I think they said proważne.
Okay. Yeah, like that was
it
something.
happens. It happens to me a lot when like there's Russian in films. Like usually, and I think I always point it out when I'm with friends. I told Malloy about it once, like, oh, that must be annoying. But I'm like, oh, people don't really call me out on it or anything.
I will.
No, you won't.
Okay.
I'm too good.
What is it about funny accents that get you?
I suppose an element of the funny might be that, like, it doesn't sound completely natural.
Yeah.
Like, even if someone speaks naturally in their accent, there's like a kind of consistency to it, and even that can be sort of funny, I guess. But like, if it's done a bit poorly, or they're trying to act while being in the accent, it comes off as a bit awkward.
Do you have a favorite funny accent in a movie? Or bad accent?
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot.
I know, there's a ton. There's a ton.
Oh.
There's a good amount of them there. I personally like it whenever Benedict Cumberbatch tries to put on an American accent. Because the thing about accents, too, is you can tell their mouths, when you look at their mouths, how uncomfortable it is when people have to put on accents, especially American accents when they're British. And Benedict Cumberbatch's mouth is, like, fully all over the place. Like, it's always like, like, all over his fucking face. And when he's, like, doing Doctor Strange, I just can't buy it ever, because I'm like, this mouth action, it always cracks me up. Like, when I saw Avengers Infinity War, and he's talking, and I'm just like, and that's why, you know, I know it's a part of the character design, but I feel like they have to give him the goatee to kind of hide his mouth. It's kind of like whenever Tom Hardy has to do an American accent, they have to hide his mouth.
I feel like some of the characters in this film had like inconsistent accents.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah, like even
Like Max,
yeah,
he's all like hot dog, and then he's like sorry.
Yeah, sorry, like a Canadian. We found at the end of the credits that like a Canadian film company made this or something.
That's apparently correct. I'm going to take your word on it. But you are a sucker for the accents. And
And funny voices.
And I'm
yeah.
a sucker for you being a sucker for those accents. Because whenever you find them funny, I find them funny. For me, I don't find them as inherently funny as you do. Mark, this movie seemed to drain the life out of you.
I also love Metal Gear Solid 2, and that has a lot of funny bad accents.
Oh, I also love that in Metal Gear Solid 2. Because I hate that game so much. Gotta love something.
Nothing here.
Mark, the movie sucked the life out of you.
It did.
But was there anything that stood out for you as enjoyable moments in good or bad ways? Because there was a lot here. There was gold in those
There's a
here
lot of
mountains.
potential.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like sometimes the movie does something and you're like, ooh, it's going to go this way, and then it doesn't.
No.
And you get your hopes up, and then you just sort of start imagining a better movie.
Yeah.
So, for example, I was imagining a movie where it's like a sort of like a, you know, I don't know, like Agatha Christie murder mystery in space, and there's more crew members, and one of them is the murderer. Or
I would love
whatever.
if Perot was in space.
It would be great. And I was
Space
so I was
Perot.
imagining that movie a lot of the time, and it was interesting.
It's called Doctor Who. You could watch it anytime, mate. He's basically Space Perot, having solved crimes and mysteries in space. There you go. No, I agree. Like, this movie, I wanted to try and find some more funny moments, like we were saying before the episode. Oh, let's talk about this, let's talk about this. But to be honest, mainly this movie was a lot of me going, wouldn't it be better if it did this?
Yeah, that's
I think
what I was
on
saying.
this, yeah, like, this is the movie that we've done on the show that I think has wasted its potential the most. Because even even other movies like Jack Hunter, it followed through on its Indiana Jones-ness. Like, it followed through on its Indiana Jones-like plot.
Yeah, even though
way more than this did on its potential of a sci-fi mystery murder
and for a film that was setting up sequels, it did a good job in its first entry.
Oh yeah, Jack Hunter, yeah. And this,
Not that we liked it, but yeah.
I enjoyed it far more than this. This is just a big disappointment. There are some other interesting little funny moments. Like, I think really the film picks up in the last act of the movie when Michael Pear's character goes full Jack Torrance and just starts hunting down Renee with a knife. And Renee is smart and dumb at the same time.
Yeah.
But the killer is dumber.
Renee, you can't possibly win. Not against an intelligence like mine.
He uses there's this robotic arm that's on the outside of the space station, and he uses the grap onto her. But the filmmaking's so disappointing because in space you can't hear things, and it
Yeah.
would be great. She's not knowing it, and then we can see that it's slowly coming up on her.
Of all the times to cut out the sound, by the way.
Of all the times to cut out the sound, but instead she's immediately aware because she can hear it.
Clang,
Clang,
ding.
clang,
But
and it's
then
like,
yeah, he makes it like snap together like an idiot.
And that very
and you
quickly
still won't hear that. Like,
and that very quickly led to one of our favorite, like, hang on film moments.
Which was
down in Mission Control, they noticed that he was using this arm to try to get Renee.
which makes sense.
Which makes sense. And one of the crew members. I think it was the blonde woman.
One of the tech people on the ground.
Offered a thing of like, hey, is there any way for us to like override and take control of this arm?
Because I do believe in the past we've had to do that before.
Yeah, and one of the characters has this tone of, I'm going to explain to you why we can't do that, but every single thing he says is basically saying, we have the capability to control this arm because we have this, and this.
But he's saying it like he can't.
Yeah.
Like, well, we can, but and then he explains how they can. Like usually when you hear we can, but then you're thinking, oh well, they can't.
Yeah, so this is
For this
basically
reason, but
and basically my immediate reaction, like I was doing a little like skit with you and Rachel, was basically I picked up a chocolate and I put it right in front of Rachel and I said, Rachel, I want to give you this chocolate right here, but I can't give it to you. This chocolate right here, right in front of you, that is like within reach of you.
And then I said, no, the best way you do this is you say that you can give me the chocolate in that tone of voice, and then give me the chocolate, and then I just say,
I can't give it to you, and then I take it back, and yeah, it was weird. It's like, why are you speaking like that? Then do it.
That's a great sci-fi idea moment, right? So he's got the metal clamp arm, and he clamps her, and she's unaware of it, and that could be interesting. Or when he murders Yuri, he has the Coke can that's been unspelled, which is actually quite neat, because that could easily frame the golfer guy who's up there for the Coke can thing. That could be a great framing device, right? If they're all outside, that could be interesting, and they're all spread apart on the space station. He walks up behind him and slashes his tube, and we don't know who it is, because it's from a first-person perspective.
And we could have even had something goofy, like he uses his golf club to launch something.
That could be fun. I said that. Wouldn't it be great if at the end Max hits him with a golf club? But there's so many great little sci-fi notions you could do. Like, I thought the metal clamp arm was going to be used again to hurt bad guy.
Yeah.
Like maybe he's outside and he's grappling onto their space craft while they're trying to get away. And then Houston uses the grappling thing to grab him, and he's stuck, and then it's going... I thought that could be something cool. Like, you set up something, pay it off, but in the end they just don't. They're just like, oh, here's a problem, we solved it, like that. Like, it wasn't a problem.
Hey, isn't there a safety override protocol that we can control the arm here from Earth?
Yes, in the event of a shipwide disaster, the arm had to be rigged so it could be operated from Earth. It operates on a separate communication system.
Are you telling me we can get control of the arm here?
Well, we should be able to.
Do it.
Yeah, I can override the primary arm control to your systems.
There is one character we need to highlight, my favorite character, which is Max's PR lady.
Yeah.
Who we didn't know what she was for a very long time.
She was just this very...
When I say we, I mean Bartek and I, because we didn't know Max was a celebrity.
Yeah, she was this very energetic, like, I think American woman that was just in the space station.
And she has like one of those like those corporate lady hairstyles, and she's wearing those blouses with the big collars.
She had, like, pearl necklace, I think.
A pearl necklace, and she's always on the mobile phone with the antenna on it, the flip phone with the antenna on it. And she was the best. I liked her because she was simple. You understood what she was about. She was about like capitalistic idealism. Like, she was a capitalist who had ideals of being even more capitalist, and it's just like great.
And the
she's standing in a room with a bunch of communists.
Yeah, and she's like got this personality of like a really excited high school girl.
Yeah, but also that old Hollywood style lady that was kind of like, get your hands off of me, see? Yeah. Like, she had a bit of that too. Like, she had some gusto. Like, yeah, I liked her.
Just like my favorite character, a character.
Yes, but she followed through.
Yeah.
Your one stopped. She continually, and to the point in which she let our one of the main characters know about the plot.
Yeah.
Because the crew didn't know about a murderer, even though they do. And then she breaks the code and just goes, no, there's a murderer, Max, and we know it's not you. And she actually followed through on her character, and that's why I liked her. At first, I liked her jokingly because she was very loud and over the top, but by the end, she actually became a legit favorite character for me because she at least followed through.
Yeah, there was a point where...
on being a character.
Like, obviously, we saw that first time, and then a lot of time passed, and you're like, man, I miss my favorite character.
And then when I said that, she just came back, and she was there for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Wasted potential.
Yeah.
This movie.
I remember even with... the Yuri character, like, at first he was like the first moment of us being like, I can't understand any of his dialogue. It's too quiet.
Yeah, because the music's so loud.
Yeah, but then it kind of got redeemed when we could finally understand him, and like he had this like good like leadership skills among the group.
And he looked like Mario.
And he looked like Mario.
And you made the best joke.
Yeah, and
which was when he died.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I was leading to. Yeah, he and the serious American guy Conrad were out in space, like working on something on the like station outside, and that's where he was like his tube was slashed by Conrad using the can. And like you see Mario's face, I keep going Mario.
Mario.
And he just does a serious face, and like you can see the moment he died. And then I just made a joke like, "What if you put the Mario death sound like?"
That would have been the best if they put that there.
Yeah.
Did they ever use that music in the Super Mario Brothers movie for when anyone died?
I haven't seen the Super
I
Mario Brothers
have.
movie.
I should know, but I don't.
I know that they still use it in the games
Because it's iconic.
I know it's iconic. Yeah,
It is so iconic.
a lot of things are iconic.
Another thing about this movie is there's just logical fallacies that you can't wrap your brain around. So, like, for instance, our killer guy has a knife. He eventually gets tranquilized, knocked out, and tied up with masking duct tape. Eventually, he bites his way out of the duct tape. But our lady left the knife with him.
Yeah, they could not separate him and the knife.
I know it's an audio podcast, but I gotta point out, Mark just leaned back in his chair side and just shook his head in a no reaction, like dear Lord, like you were just
It
so
was dumb. The characters are just so dumb.
But it's annoying because she did some smart things, but then she's so dumb.
He got knocked out like 3 or 4 times in this film, and like every single time the knife was still near him for him to pick up.
Or Max finds out there's a killer. He knows who the killer is, and they're at the mess hall, whatever, right? They're eating food, and Max comes in, and he does the stupidest thing. Here's what he should have done, and this would have been an interesting movie. Get Renee by herself. Tell her that he's the killer. And maybe you could go 2 ways. They both know, and he doesn't know that they know.
They
right?
use like his perceived ignorance to their advantage.
And to their advantage. Or he overhears them knowing together, and then that kicks off.
And then they have the perceived ignorance of thinking
exactly, and you
could
could go 2 ways, but instead Max is standing right behind him. These two have already had confrontations with one another because they don't get on. Because Michael Pear's a racist because he's like, stop playing that jungle music. Which was beautiful to the black man, who's just playing some electronica hip hop.
Yeah, some kind of like funky music to dance to.
It wasn't even that jungly if you had to go there, but it was more electronic. But they have he's standing behind him, and he just decides, I'm going to scream out murderer and try and hug him.
Yeah.
And then he gets the shit beat out of him, and he's knocked unconscious for pretty much the rest of the movie.
Until, like, the final scene,
which is your Deus Ex Machina, where he saves the day, like, out of nowhere. But he totally lost the ability, and for a good portion of the movie, she thinks that, Max went crazy, and he's the bad one. And that Michael Pear Conrad is all right. And I hate that. I just hate that bullshit when you have to stretch that for convenience sake or plot's sake in this regard. When realistically, even Max wouldn't have done that. Like, you know, I mean, it just was so contrived, but it was funny though.
Yeah.
He decides to hug him. Like, you thought, Bartek, that he had some kind of wire or rope and he was going to try and garrote him, basically.
It's not so much that I thought, like, he definitely had that. It's the action that he took. That it was like, how do I interpret this? Because it looked like, you know, Conrad was sitting and Max was standing. Max heads over to him.
From behind.
Like, his arms are spread out as if, like, going for a hug from behind. He, like,
puts his arms around him in a pulling motion, like he's got something in his hands.
Yeah, he pulls his hands back, and obviously there's nothing between him, so he like doesn't do anything. And then Conrad counters that with a punch, which does something, and then
he grabs him and smacks his head into several things, deservedly. Like, Max deserved it. Like, he was a fucking pussy.
Like, to make it sound a bit simpler, it's like if I were to, like, head towards Ryan with, like, a pushing motion and my hands go, like, to both sides of his head.
And I just slap him in the dick.
And then Ryan's like, okay, well, punch me in the face. And it's like, I didn't do anything, and Ryan got a free hit in.
And I won.
And I got knocked out for the next half hour.
Yeah. no, here's the thing. Like, Mark and I are fans of sci-fi more than you, Bartek, I would say. You seem to be more a fan of anime sci-fi, I would say.
Sort of. Sci-fi is like a really interesting thing, but I feel like most sci-fi that I watch just doesn't quite hit it for me.
Yeah, well...
Like, it's something I really want to like and see good things of. Like, I love Terminator, that's one thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
See, I'm a huge fan of sci-fi, as is Mark, and we've seen a lot of sci-fi stuff, movies, and when I was watching this, I thought of Star Trek. There's an episode in Star Trek Voyager in which a crew member played by Brad Dourif, who's the voice of Chucky, and he's also Billy Babbitts in...
Billy Bibbit?
Bibbit. Billy Bibbit in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, right? And he's a guy who usually plays psychos. In Star Trek Voyager, he brutally murders another crew member, which is very unusual for Star Trek. Usually people get killed by monsters or accidents or stuff, not another person killing someone else in cold blood. And I thought, that's an interesting concept. And this whole sequence on the ship of a guy brutally murdering someone and covering it up, but he's still emotionally a psychopath and can't cover it up too well, reminded me of that Star Trek episode, but nowhere near as interesting and good. And we've seen so many things like... Mark and I said, this is like Event Horizon. Like sci-fi ship murder stuff, but nowhere near as good. Like, Mark, did you at least enjoy when Michael Pear went full Jack Torrance on the ship, at least? Because I think I did. I actually enjoyed when he went full ham.
Again, it's like a character.
It's a caricature. It's a caricature.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, and he starts crying. And he's like stroking his knife. And like holding it up to his face to admire
He
it.
squeezes
And one of the times where Renee gets in on him is when she has like this emotional therapy session with him after he's just been threatening to like dissect Max by saying like, "Oh, Renee, is there any particular organ you want me to cut or something like that?"
Yeah, dissect.
And Renee like looks all serious, and then she just walks in as if like, "Wait, I have an idea," and she just like talks to him like a child, and he like spills his heart to her.
And then she betrays him.
And then she betrays him by like
injecting
injecting
literally
a sedative.
says, "You betrayed me." And it was like The Room. But yeah, you know, like, did you enjoy him going full hog?
It was amusing.
It was something that the film gave us, at least.
Again, this is could you imagine this in a good movie?
Yeah.
Like, we said, you know, I have to kind of retract this a little bit. We said, like, he's an astronaut. He would have gone through intensive psychic evaluation, like psych eval, right?
Yeah.
It would have made more sense if he was like a Hannibal Lecter type serial killer nut job. But at the same time, I kind of would like the idea of space madness setting in. Like, he's basically The Shining in space.
He's been up there for like a day.
He's been up there for literally 2 days, if that.
I mean, we did kind of compare it to Deep Rescue, where in Deep Rescue, one of the astronauts did go crazy because he didn't pop his ears.
Yeah.
Which this film very early on had everyone pop their ears, so
you were like, oh, it's not Deep Rescue then.
Yeah.
I was like, plot twist. Wouldn't it be a plot twist if the secret crew member hadn't popped their ears? But then there was no secret crew member, and I was very, very disappointed.
I think there are 2 things I can point out that we haven't mentioned yet that, like, kind of lead into this film's self-perception that it is good.
It thinks it's good.
It's a bad way to put it, but basically there are 2 moments that I can think, things.
Of self-propelled ignorance.
One of them is when Renee and Conrad are having like a melee fist fight, and it like not only goes into slow motion, but it shows us the same shot of her like roundhouse kicking again,
but from a slightly different angle.
But it's the
exact same shot.
So it's like, oh, is this meant to be like an action film? And if it was, wouldn't you use like 3 shots? Like, that doesn't. Like, not only is it like arrogance of like, yeah, look how cool this is, but the film doesn't fit for this film.
Yeah, and I know they're astronauts or cosmonauts and they're physically fit and military background, but it's not like they set up this very small, petite woman with a hourglass figure and anything, like the small woman, that she's like this military badass. Like, for instance, we did the Core on Unappreciated Masterpieces. And that movie set up that not Sandra Bullock, Hilary Swank's character had a military background and she could physically sort things out, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. She's a small lady, but they sort that out at the very beginning. This movie, she's just like kicking ass. It's like, what is she, fucking Lara Croft all of a sudden? Like, where did this come from?
Well, we know she has breasts.
She does have breasts. They did show us that.
And the other thing that the film seems very proud of is We mentioned mysteries before, right? And a
Yeah.
key element of mysteries...
Oh, on the mystery box? Did we mention mysteries?
We mentioned mysterious things, but I'm talking about actual, like, mystery genre. One of the key things in them is the reveal.
Mm-hmm.
How many times did we see the exact same reveal in this film?
Like 15 million times.
We were joking at one point that the reveal would be like the ending stinger after the credits.
The post-credit stinger would be the detective smoking. He's like, oh my god, the killer all along.
15 is exaggerated, but I think there are at least 3 or 4 times where we see the exact same...
Oh, I think it's like 5, 6, 8 times.
exact same sequence of different characters looking at like the grainy footage of the killer of the woman in Moscow, and then it like, you know, ungraining and revealing it was Conrad, but like from many different people and everyone having the revelation.
But even at that point, we already know who the killer is.
Oh yeah,
As do they.
We the audience know, and the film, most of the characters do know, but that's like the official reveal for everyone watching the footage.
It annoys me that the PR woman knew from the very beginning and they never listened to it. And that's not like that's a storyline. It's not like she's like, clearly it's this guy. No, that's not a storyline.
Well, like we said, she's not in it for like the second quarter of the film.
Just
and at that point,
wasted
like, yeah.
potential. Yeah, the reveal is always important if you're going to have it be a mystery. Because you could do this with us knowing and they don't know. And that could be interesting, like a Columbo type thing or something. But not interested. That's clever, though. That's too clever for this movie.
I was never allowed pets. My mother was a very religious woman. We argued often. She explained away evolution as God's way of putting the Earth on autopilot, because he had so many other worlds to create.
Your mother sounds like a wise woman.
Actually, she was quite insane.
The movie just ends, too.
And we
like,
never find out what happens.
They
to
just
LA.
land, and then they're like, we made it. And then, this was so baffling, and I couldn't believe it. Until Bartek vocalized it. Like, I knew what was happening, but Bartek had to vocalize it. I think it was you, Bartek.
Oh, doing the helicopter?
No. Eventually it zooms out into space, and it plays the very beginning of the movie of us going through space, but backwards.
Yeah.
The same sequence, but backwards.
Basically, the beginning
it's not like it's that sequence, like it's a sequence where it's going through space, but it's going, instead of landing on Earth, it's just, that's where we begin, and it's literally, they rewound it, like they put it backwards, not like they did a new series of animations and they went backwards for it instead. And what was the point of it going backwards? What is this? What is it trying to say? This movie's a circle?
Yeah, basically the beginning of the film is we see like there's a fiery thing, camera goes through it, we pass a brown planet, maybe it was Jupiter or something, we pass a transparent Saturn, as Mark pointed out, we go through the asteroid belt, and then we see, I think, Earth and the sun behind it, and then it like 180s around the Earth. The ending, 180 around the Earth, going through the asteroid belt, Saturn, the thing I think was Jupiter, and I think at that point I'm like, are we going to see the fiery thing next? And then we see the fiery thing.
Yeah, and I knew as soon as it started, but I just was so mystified about, no, they're not doing that. And then you asked, and I was like, they are doing that. And I was just like, sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, when you see something so shocking and you know exactly what it is, but until someone else verbalizes it, do you really let it sink in? And that was the ending of this movie.
And they didn't even resolve the main plot. That's what annoys me most.
Yeah, it just...
Oh, the terrorist thing, yeah.
That falls into LA, and I guess everyone dies in LA, who knows?
I guess that was another weird thing. In the opening credits, like, it did the thing of, like, this actor, and this actor as this character.
And they appeared in one scene?
That character appeared in one scene.
With 4 tanks, though.
Yeah, with 4 tanks. And the character, like, stands in the middle of this, like, battle between his military
Smoking
force
a cigar and
the
having a cup of soup.
Like... Obviously, if I understood the plot at that point, I would have understood what was going on. But he was so nonchalant about it that I thought it was like a military drill exercise or something.
Yes. Also, I thought that added to his character. Like, he's a military driller who's like slurping his coffee or I think it was a cup of soup and smoking a cigar. And I'm like, oh, this tells us his character. He's like this serious general, but also really nonchalant and blasé. But then we don't see him again. So why am I thinking about this?
And also the great special effects in that scene with with the assault rifles, only like half the guns had like the white flash
The
coming
muzzle
out of
flash.
the muzzle. Yeah.
Yeah. That was.
Which again led to my theory of like, oh, are some of them not firing because it's a drill? But
Yeah, but it wasn't.
it wasn't.
They were attacking terrorists.
It was
and-
legitimate. I remember that went for a long time because you made the joke like this is the rest of the film, isn't it?
It really did go for fucking ever. And the machine gun fire was really loud, and the
Yeah.
audio for the voice was really soft. But then eventually it leveled out. I think halfway through they actually hired an audio guy. And that's it. That is Space Fury. It is as disappointing and mundane as anything could ever be. Like, this is the highest of boring. Like if I had to give this a rating, this is a high rating of boring. Like, this is a 5-star film of boring. Because, honestly, this is probably the most boring movie we've done on the show, tied with Deep Rescue. For me, I found that this was a little bit more interesting because at least with Deep Rescue, at least with this, it had more plot things going on that I was baffled by. So my brain was more active while watching this, which is the fucking lowest compliment I could give it. But the fact is, my brain was more physically active trying to figure out the 4 plots in comparison to Deep Rescue, where there's 1 plot and it's really boring. But Deep Rescue did its job better.
Yeah.
So,
Gun to your head, you have to watch one of these films or you die.
probably I would watch Deep Rescue. Pop.
Yeah, I think me too. At least with Deep Rescue, you know, whatever this means to you, but I like the fact that you could at least have a sense of what the whole environment is.
Yes.
There's like 3 or 4 main rooms that's used throughout the film, and you know, you have an idea of this setting.
But it didn't have 4 tanks. So.
It didn't have 4 tanks. It didn't even have sea life apart from a single crab. But you know, at least.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And it didn't have a million characters. It had like 6 or 7.
Yeah, Space Fury, disappointment. Recommendations for it? No. Do not watch this.
Nah, don't.
It's pointless. It is.
We should get your dad's opinion, though.
I have to get my dad's opinion on this. No, Dad, what's Space Fury? Let me know. And he'll be like, oh, that's space in it. That's like a tick in his box. Like, he's very simple when it comes to sci-fi. What about you, Mark? You're going to recommend this, right?
Of course, yes. This is a classic, complex, you know, philosophically deep sci-fi.
Well, you
thriller.
understood it more than us, so you could be telling the truth.
Yeah,
You
didn't even see the alien. Like, it was like it was very subtle, and it's like it's a mystery. Like you have to see the clues.
Who did you say was the alien? Valentine?
Yeah, the
murder-
streetwalker.
She was the alien intruder.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, the credit called her Streetwalker, right?
Streetwalker. I noticed that. Mark, here's the thing, though. I did ask you this jokingly throughout the movie, and then seriously as well. We had you on last time for Mr. Bones, a South African comedy,
God.
and that movie made you wince so hard that you rolled off the couch onto the floor into my kitchen.
In the episode, Ryan kept saying Mark looked so embarrassed throughout the whole thing.
Look,
into this one.
Here's the thing,
Is this worse than Mr. Bones for you?
They're different. Mr. Bones was. It was more interesting. It was comprehensible. The characters were, you know, like they were characters, but it was also like
It had
really,
golf as well.
really disgusting. Like I felt sick watching it in several places.
Bit gross out. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And this is like Space Fury. It's harmless. Like it's like there's missed opportunities, but it's not the sort of movie that makes you angry. It's just like, oh. Yeah.
Would you call either one a waste of time, though?
I'd say this is a waste of time. I'd say Mr. Bones, you know, you can enjoy watching it.
It hit its target, which was a comedy.
Yeah.
Because we did laugh genuinely at the jokes in that movie.
Yeah.
Because that movie isn't trying to take itself seriously. This is.
Yeah.
And we took none of it seriously.
Word is one of you guys is wanted for homicide, and we both know it's not you. But we're keeping a lid on it, but watch your cute ass until we beam you down, alright?
We have to also remember to guess what year this movie came out, because the DVD box didn't tell us. We usually try to...
Didn't say, did they?
The credits
they
didn't
didn't.
say. We try to avoid it in general all the time. We always have a guess. I was the one who figured out what year this movie was released. But I'd like to hear what you guys... I had a guess beforehand, but I want to hear how you guys thought about what year this came out.
My mind was stuck on the 90s decade,
Mhm.
so I'm gonna throw a dart in the middle, and I'm gonna guess 1996.
Good.
Yeah. I was thinking early 90s, maybe even late 80s.
Okay.
To be honest. So I'll say 89.
89. Well, I also had a guess, and my guess was in 1997. It had real kind of screaming that vibe. But in the end, it was another 1999 movie, people.
Wow.
Yeah, 1999 or 2000, depending which site says what. But
this is like so bad for like 1999. I thought,
says a
okay,
lot.
based on
There was
like the quality, like okay, I can say 80s.
There was a part of me thinking like, oh, this looks like a 90s film, but I feel like we've had a few episodes where we've thought that it's in like the 2000s.
I suppose it is Russia or wherever it was made.
Canada.
And they're a couple decades behind.
The filter in
Canada's a bit behind the rest of the world.
The filter in Russia is very dark and gloomy.
The show is coming to an end, unfortunately, but we have a tradition of trying to escape the room because we are trapped in here. And this time round, the room that we are in. Oh, we're in a space station in space, you see.
Okay.
And unfortunately, Bartek had to he lost manual control on the space shuttle and crashed in and caused trillions of dollars worth of damage onto our space station.
Yeah, I know. I was there for that.
Yeah, you were there.
I remember that.
It was your fault because you were on your way. And we now are in a situation in which we have to get off this station, but there's so much damage on the ship.
And one of us is a killer.
And one of us is a killer. I'm not going to say who. It's going to be a twist.
And we need help from a fourth person.
In the movie, who would you pick from the movie to help us escape the ship?
The general.
The general?
The one that looked like
the one that
Azamat?
appeared. No. That was the deputy premier. He said the general, the one who appeared in one scene.
Oh right, yeah.
Okay,
The build
cigar
act-
smoking.
Yeah.
Okay, Bartek.
Great
choice, by the way.
I mean, look, my favorite character is the detective, but
Would he help us?
Would he help us is the thing. He'd motivate us for the first quarter of our peril. I almost want to pick the actual murderer, considering there is a murderer with us, but
Oh, is he good at escaping? No.
No, he's not, you're right. Who escaped something in this film? I guess Renee escaped
Renee and
the
Max,
criminal.
somehow.
So you're picking Renee because she escaped something?
You know what? I'll pick Yuri. I think we'll give him a second chance. I don't think he'll die this time.
Well, I'm going to pick, for our sake, we need good PR.
So your favorite character?
I'm picking her because she's gung-ho. She knows she's on top of things. She's got a mobile phone. She is on top of this, and we need good PR. I mean, she does say you can't go without PR.
What do you reckon, Mark? Should we go with her?
Yeah.
All right, she's our fourth person.
Great, I'm so happy that she's on the team. She's too busy speaking on the phone right now, even though we're in space.
Yeah.
She's got a space phone because she's that on top of things, Mark. Now, Mark, there's a secret murderer, and also there's a giant amount of metal debris in our way. What are you going to do?
I'll wait until she finishes her phone call and get us a call, like, somebody who can help us.
911.
Call ground control. Okay, so Mark is waiting patiently for her to get off the phone.
See, the thing in these situations is not to panic.
Not to panic. Bartek?
I'm going to go behind the square-shaped like wall divider and like look through at like weird angles with an awkward filter.
That's what Renee did.
At the lady on the phone.
PR lady.
Planning my next move.
Fair enough. As Bartek did that, we've now got a fire on board our ship because none of us have done anything. I see this fire, and I've only got one recourse of option here. I only have one option available to me. I've got to hack into the ship, you see, for at least 10 whole minutes of wasted time. And as I do that, I fall asleep. But here's the thing, guys. PR lady's got her move now. And she knows exactly what she's going to do. Because she's actually been on the phone the whole time to the director of this movie, you see. And she asked him how he came up with this amazing idea. And he told her. And she's listening. And she's like, that's great. And she hangs up the phone, looks at Mark, and she goes, okay, Mark, I know you want this phone. I should say it like I know you want this phone, but here's the thing, young man. I need this phone to call up Hollywood to get this made by Zack Snyder. He's the perfect person to remake this. And you, Mark, you nod. You're like,
Yes,
you're
yes,
damn
of
right. He deserves to make this movie. So she phones up Zack, 911. Because he's the police in this situation. Yeah. And Zach's like, oh, wee boy, I would love to make that movie. He starts making the movie. The fire's blazing. I'm hacking. Bartek's waiting for his move. You've accepted that your move is redundant for the moment because she's like, I've got to now phone this person. Zack Snyder makes the movie, but you know Zack, he's all about realism, of course. So he actually builds a space station next to our space station. And she says, yo, Zach, can we possibly, like, get a lift to your set to inspect how good it is and how accurate it is? We get a lift from Zach to his set. I'm standing there, and I'm like, I didn't finish hacking, but that's okay. Bartek's sussing out the grid thing that he's hiding behind. Mark is still waiting, but you notice something, Mark. No fire. So Mark starts a fire, you see.
For the sake of realism, of course.
For the sake of realism. But little do we know, Mark's a serial killer with fire. And he kills Zack Snyder, unfortunately. But fortunately, the PR lady still has Zack's keys. So we just kind of walk out of there, and we go back down to Earth, and Space Fury's production is forever on hold because Zack Snyder unfortunately died. That was an emotional journey, guys.
Yeah. I was going to have it be that I'm going to, scarily approach someone, then I get killed. But if Mark's the killer, then...
But it's okay, because he likes us.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. We're back on Earth.
So ultimately...
we land on Earth, I grab Bartek's shoulder, Mark
and you
grabs
go, it's
the PR
me!
PR lady, and Bartek says, I'm on my way. And then Mark looks up in the sky, and the PR lady says, we're here. Yeah. And then the camera goes up in the air.
We get in a helicopter that keeps turning left and right.
And zooms back, and that's the end of the episode.
But you forgot that the space station crashes on LA.
And we landed in LA. Shit, and Mark, he was the one who sabotaged it all along. Oh my god.
Play the Mario Game Over music at this point.
That's
the main thing.
I know. Thank you very much, Mark, for coming on and having to help us go through the murky waters that was Space Fury.
And also the Venice Beach waters that are now on fire.
That was a good one.
Thank you. I can't say it's been a pleasure, but thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bartek, a pleasure as always to be going through the mystery box with you.
I can't believe how much we talked about this film, to be honest.
I'm also surprised. As always, listening people, you've been fantastic, amazing, and wonderful. If you want to support us, give us some ratings and reviews on whatever podcast platforming site there is. iTunes reviews are always appreciated. Give us whatever you feel. Give us a little review. If you want to find us on the podcasting things, we're on all of them. Podcast, Spotify, Google Play, all of those good sites. We have our social medias. We have our Twitter, our Facebook. We don't have the Instagram or MySpace, but maybe one day, if you're good, MySpace will be there.
You can YouTube message us.
We have a YouTube, which inexplicably is popular.
Yeah, we have like 176 subscribers now or something.
And it keeps growing, and I don't know, you could be one of them, people. Be amazing, wonderful listening people.
Maybe they're people that like subscribe, watch a video, and it's like, oh, they're not actually showing the full movie. Dislike.
Yeah, and I am happy that we've managed to go this long with the mystery box. I just want to put this out there.
Oh, for sure.
This was an idea that I had for quite some time and mulled and fermented on it, and then we eventually just pushed through and did it. And it's been we've been pushing through monthly with this. 13 episodes, I think, now.
I think so, yeah.
And it's just been a real roller coaster ride, and we've experienced lots of interesting movies, good and bad, and it's always just fun to have this here and keep doing this. And
this is the 14th episode.
14th.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Yeah.
So until next time, people, remember to be kind to each other.